At number 2, I have the one and only Prince. Prince performed the halftime show of Super Bowl 41 down in Miami. Excuse me. Now, there was definitely a lot of hype around this Super Bowl halftime show because Prince was Prince. He's definitely an icon, one of the best artists we've had of our time. And we all knew with Prince, well, any Prince concert you went to, he definitely always gave the audience a show and you were going to get your money's worth. Well, here in this Super Bowl halftime show, it was definitely going to be worth the viewership. And also you get to see it for free from your own home if you weren't there in Miami for the game. And Prince definitely didn't disappoint, man. Even with the stage, he didn't disappoint. Get the image here. The stage was decked out in his iconic symbol with the purple. Oops, there we go. Plus, he performed a few of his classic songs. Of course, he kicked it off with Let's Go Crazy from the Purple Rain soundtrack. Also, he did Baby renditions of, well, no, he did Baby I'm a Star. He also did a pretty good rendition of Proud Mary. And also, he performed his classic 1999. He did his rendition of All Along the Watchtower, which was done by Bob Dylan, as well as a rendition of Foo Fighters' Best of You. And of course, he definitely capped it off with his most iconic song, one of my favorites, Purple Rain. And ironically, during that whole Super Bowl, all it ended up doing was raining in Miami. It was hard on both the Chicago Bears and the Indianapolis Colts as they had some issues getting their footing in on the field, whether it was throwing the quarterbacks, Peyton Manning and Rex Grossman throwing the ball. Well, Rex Grossman definitely had more issues than Peyton did because he threw a few picks. But also the running backs as well as running the ball. But Prince didn't have any problem at all as he was definitely he was effortlessly and just did it like a natural. You would never thought it was raining. Matter of fact, when he was performing Purple Rain, he said, "Can somebody give you some rain?" as the rain was pouring down on him. But, you know, we all miss Prince dearly. We wish he was here now to give us some more music, because I know he definitely would give us a lot of great songs to get us through these tough times that we're in, and also give us some songs that we could just dance to for a little while, so we could just have some moments of happiness and joy. This was a hard Super Bowl halftime performance to rank. When I came up with this list, I was definitely going to put this on the list, but it was hard to rank it, and it was hard for me to put it at number 2 decide between number 2 and what's going to be number 1, because, you know, Prince wasn't just a singer, or even, you know, well, wasn't just a singer or just an artist. He was a musician. He was a performer. He was a writer, producer, arranger. You know, he was like the conductor of his own symphony. And plus, you could just tell how much work he put in to his shows through rehearsal, through sessions. He was a consummate professional. Also, a lot of people that worked with him said that he was one hell of a perfectionist. That he always wanted everything to be on point and perfect. And I know, and this definitely wasn't different here in this Super Bowl halftime show performance. You can tell that he and the band and the background singers, they all definitely put in the hard work to make this show a success, especially despite the elements that were down in Miami with the rain. But they just pulled it off so effortlessly. You would have thought that, the rain was a part of the show. Well, ironically, it did become part of the show, especially with Prince doing Purple Rain. Sometimes the Lord works in mysterious ways. But this Super Bowl show is definitely legendary. It's still talked about almost 20 years later. It's one of the more iconic Super Bowl shows ever, because this was performed by an icon, and they definitely made the right choice picking Prince, because Prince, his music still stands the test of time. It crosses over to the generations who listened to him, who had a chance to really experience him when he was alive, when he first came out, all the way down to younger generations who really didn't get to experience the height of Prince or really get a chance to know him and his music during his lifetime. That's what great music always does. It keeps on influencing generations, whether the generation influences the generations that were there to experience it, and it also influences the generations that weren't experiencing it, that didn't experience it, and discover it. And that's what Prince did. He definitely did a great job of bridging the gap between generations. If you just love music, you just love Prince, no matter what. And he was a hell of a showman. Always having his guitars. This was my favorite guitar that he played during the halftime show with the cymbal. Also, Prince was definitely one of the most slip of the tongue there. But also Prince definitely was a hell of a showman. He doesn't get too much credit for that, whether you loved it or sometimes hated it. But you could not take away his showmanship on that stage. That was one of the most underrated things about him that people don't give him enough credit for. He was definitely a showman on that stage, and had great showmanship. Not just him, but he also, taught his background singers and his band showmanship to where they also can shine. Because, as a matter of fact, I saw a live performance on YouTube of his song DMSR, where not only he got in, but he also included the band. He made sure that they shine, playing their instruments and doing their thing, and also being playful with them. So Prince was just an all-around musician, writer, performer, showman, and he's definitely one of the musical geniuses of our time, and we definitely got to see his genius, displayed here in the Super Bowl halftime show. And also before I finish, watching that show, you didn't feel like you were watching a halftime show. You felt like you were watching a concert. You definitely felt like you were watching a concert.